Hi! In today's tutorial we're going to talk about controllers, or gamepads. Up until now we could only control the B using the keyboard, specifically the WASD keys, or the arrow keys. But it would be pretty cool if we could also use a gamepad, right? So that's what we're going to add today. To understand how to work with a gamepad, we first need to see how it actually works and what kind of data it gives us. For this, I went to the site hardwaretester.com/gamepad. Here we can see that the page detects my connected gamepad, a Sony PS4 DualShock controller. If I press one of the buttons, I can see the data the gamepad sends. Down here, I can see an axis called axis 0, which goes from left to right. The values range from -1 through 0 to +1. It's the same for vertical movement. We have -1 at the top and +1 at the bottom of axis 1. And it continues like that. There are axis 2 and axis 3 as well. When I press the buttons, we can also see that, for example, on B7 we get values between 0 and 1. But I can control how much I press the button. For most other buttons, it's either a 1 or a 0. There are no values in between. For our B, I think it's enough to use the left stick, so we'll focus on axis 0 and axis 1, where we get the values between -1 and +1. With that in mind, let's move over to the code. So the next question is, how do we access this information? For that, let's check the documentation and search for controllers. Here we can see the controllers module, which we include with this line at the top of our code. It gives us 3 functions: getCount, getList and getInfo. Not a lot, but enough for what we need. Let's go into the code and try it out. I'm going into the init function, which, as you remember, runs exactly once at the start of the game. At the end of it, I'll add this line. Local list equals controllers get list. And for it to work, we need to import the controllers module at the top. Now let's run it. But of course we want to see what's inside that list, so we'll add a print dump list. And hit play. At first, nothing shows up. That means the controller isn't active. Now it's connected, so I hit play again. And I see something, but not much. We just get an array with one entry that says 0. That looks like an error, but it's actually correct. It means there's exactly one controller at index 1 and it has the ID 0. Now let's add a bit of code to get more information about the controller. I loop through the list and call the getInfo method on each controller, which gives us detailed information. Then I print that out and hit play. Now we can see a lot more. Scrolling up, we see that the object has buttons. Each button has a value of a touch boolean, which is currently false, as well as pressed equals false. There's also a second button, and so on. Further down, we can see the axes. Axes 1, 2, 3 and 4. These are the same ones we saw earlier, and they have values. You'd think they'd all be 0 because I'm not pressing anything, but in practice, that's not the case. The values are rarely exactly 0. They even fluctuate slightly. So keep that in mind. When you use these values, it's a good idea to check if they exceed a certain threshold before acting on them. Something like 0.01. Okay, now let's open the code that moves our B. In the update method, we have the block that handles the keyboard input. It checks if keys are pressed and then updates the desired movement vector. Right below that, we'll add our gamepad code. Here's what I'm doing. I loop through the list of connected gamepads and get the info for each controller. To keep things simple, I won't let the player choose which controller to use. And I'm also leaving the keyboard controls in place. So when the game runs, you can use either the keyboard or any connected controller to move the bee. If you want to make this fancy later, you could add a menu to select the input method. For now, this will do. Next, we need to read the axes from the controller. In this case, I only care about axis 0 and axis 1. I call them axis H for horizontal and axis V for vertical. Remember, in Lua, arrays start at index 1, not 0. So what we saw as axis 0 earlier is now at index 1, and axis 1 is at index 2. Let's print these values first to check. When I move the stick, I can see the values coming in. Perfect! The bee doesn't move yet because we're not using those values for anything. So let's remove the print and add this. Desired movement x equals desired movement x plus axis h multiplied with b speed. And the same for z. That should do it. Let's try. And yes, it works. The bee moves and now we have much more precise control. I can control the speed more accurately than before with the keyboard. It doesn't necessarily mean I'll catch more apples, but it feels great. That's it for this tutorial. In the next one, we'll take a look at building a UI for our menu using Canvas. See you next time!